Oh, I'm sorry. Karibuni sana. Nilikuwa najiongelesha. So I really appreciate your presence here. Nawakaribisha nyote hapa. Today I want to handle this very serious topic. I want to handle medieval psychology. I want us to look at it, and we ask ourselves, what can we learn on this period of 1,000 years, which show Europeans developing their civilization. Actually, medieval psychology has everything to do with the Western and European civilization. So that is why it's a very important time. Maybe we can learn something, what we can do. It's a time where there was a lot of European genocide. I don't know how many of you have heard about European genocide. Wazungu pia wamejiua sana, even as we kill ourselves. World War I was a European genocide. World War II was a European genocide. Yeah, so, and many genocides have happened. Genocides is where people kill themselves too much. Almost you are getting an extermination. For instance, like in the Second World War, Russians killed themselves close to extermination. 20 million Russians died. So war is bad. Oh, so anyway, medieval psychology. What is medieval? Medieval time or medieval era, also known as the Middle Ages, is a period spanning an age of 300 AD all the way to 1500 AD. What happened during the medieval time? Or what are the major things? And by the way, you know, in the medieval time, when we are grouping that time, there is the early medieval time, then there is the middle and the late. So it is split in those two eras. So what happened during the early phase of medieval time? What happened during the middle era of medieval time? What happened during the late moments of medieval time? So we are seeing expansion of Europe immediately after the death of Christ, all the way to the start of the medieval era. We are seeing extreme expansion of the Roman Empire. We are seeing an area whereby the Roman Empire is expanding all the way to Turkey, that is Constantinople. The Roman Empire is expanding to Greece, in places like Athens, Corinth. No wonder that's why you are seeing immediately after the death of Christ, you can see Paul exploration and the expansion of the Bible, especially to the church of Corinth and the Thessalonians, which are towns domiciled in Greece. It's called the Thessalonic. Is a town in Greece called the Thessalonic. Athens, there is Athens. Athens is a major ancient time, which is even older than Jesus, and many other Greek towns. So immediately after Jesus Christ, we can now see the Roman Empire expanding to Greece, expanding all the way to Turkey. Those areas used to be called Minor Italy, Minor Asia. Now, when we are talking of Minor Asia in the Bible era, Minor Asia is Persia, that is Iran. So all what in modern day we call Western Asia, that is Iraq. So Iraq, which domiciled Babylon, Persia, which is the modern day Iran, part of Russia, the Armageddon, part of Russia. Yeah. So then we have North Africa, mostly Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, and Morocco. All those areas there had already been coming close to north of Sudan. So all those areas, so River Nile there and the Delta. So those places, they were part of the Roman Empire. So before the Roman Empire came, we had the Macedonian Kingdom, which was also very serious, which was under the Alexander the Great. Yeah. So now the Roman Empire is here, and a period called Sikhism starts to happen. So Sikhism is where there is a religious subduction. Yeah, people are being questioned according to the religions which they are practicing. So there come an era whereby Christians are highly being persecuted. Rome, at that time, doesn't want anything to do with religion. So at that time, they are even anti-Catholic. So they typically want a pagan system. So even the Catholic Church at that time was under siege. So that's how the Roman Empire operated. So many people might think that the Roman Empire was being catapulted by the Roman Catholic. No, they came to intertwine later on when the Roman Empire collapsed. That is when now they started seeing the value of the church. So as far as the Roman Empire existed, they were persecutors of the church. That is one thing which we need to understand. So there was another which used to be called Sikhism. I just want to get the right definition for you. Sikhism is a spiritual division between strongly opposed sections or parties caused by differences in opinion or belief. So it was an error. So that is one of the things which tried to split the Roman Empire. So nisalimia watu, Joseph anasema Roma did not have a culture. They borrowed from Greece. That is something we can check. Yeah, definitely the Greek Empire was a little bit older than the Roman Empire. But so the Greek Empire was a bit not violent. Let me use that word. And the expansion of the Greek Empire was through philosophy. Yourself, you need to understand that. So that is why early scholars were actually schooling in Greece and Egypt. So when it came to Greece and early Egypt, it was more of influenced by thoughts. But when it came to the Roman Empire, it was influenced by conquering. Mwenye nguvu mpishe. So that is the difference between these two cultures, or how these two places operated. So Resilient ananiambia hello Jiro and guys corner. Joseph, good to see you. I am out about but I am listening too. Okay, Resilient kesho nawaletea show ya kuwapredictia Pope nawaletea show ni tushajua Pope atakuwa nani na msituchekere. We hope we will get it. So the Greeks went to Egypt. Okay, that one I agree. The Greeks went to Egypt to study philosophy and medicine, especially during the it's called the Emitoep. Somebody like I'm unable to pronounce that. There was a very serious guy. So I agree on that. Medicine and philosophy was in Egypt, but later on in the next centuries, philosophy migrated to Greece because of the uncontinued wars in Egypt. and some of the disagreements which were happening within the Egypt kingdom. Yes, it began in Egypt, but it migrated. So you need to mark that yourself, Baden. So the Roman Empire is here, and the leaders of Roman Empire at that time, they have conceived that they need to conquer. They need to conquer Asia Minor, and they need to conquer North Africa. So, and what are they going to use? They are going to use deception. So, maneno ya deception ilianza saa hii. So, actually, propaganda was designed in Rome. So, so the Roman Empire at that time walikuwa wanajifanya very amiable people. Sisi hatuna shida na nyinyi. They used to pretend. Let me call it pretend. Deception ni kama kupretend. So they used to pretend the way they are good with other people. Tuko sawa na nyinyi, hatuna shida. Then at night mnasikia mmekuwa raided. So that's how they took advantage of others. So false pretense. So they used deception, and they also used religion to some extent also to expand the thinking. So now by around 1500, no, not 1500, by around 500 AD, thereabout, during the early stages of the collapse of the Roman Empire, we can now see the Roman Empire collapsing, and we can now see rising up of other territories. Which are territories which are rising? Now we can now see influence now shifting to places like France and places like Spain. Influence is now shifting there to France and Spain. That time the UK is a bit docile. Who are the barbarians as described in the Bible? Barbarians, you know the modern day barbarians. You know Bavaria. Is it barbarians or Bavaria? Bavaria. You know, Germany is one which is called Bavaria. You know that. Bavaria is Germany. There are 3 countries there. There is Germany. There are some 3 countries which speak Germany. I'm forgetting the 3 countries there, but Bavaria was Germany. Barbarians, I don't know well. So Joseph, on that one, I'm not able to explain to you about that. So we are now seeing now Rome has collapsed. Joseph unasema ni sawa, nakubali wewe, tuenda ukiangusha point, hakuna shida. So barbarians, so you need to confirm to me if it is barbarians or Bavaria, because Germany is the one which used to be called Bavaria, so not barbarian. But I can type it here. Barbarian invasion. Yeah, I can see it. So the barbarian invasion refers to the period of migration non-Roman people. So those were the non-Roman people into the territories of Roman Empire, particularly in the Western Roman Empire between 3rd and 5th AD. So you actually talking in hii kitu yourself unaongea kuhusu is the early ages, is the early moment of medieval age. Yeah, 3rd and 5th AD. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning of medieval era. This is actually the beginning, and there is a lot of migration. Well, and you can see actually that's the time when actually the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Yeah. Actually, that's the time when now the Roman Empire. So much of the medieval time, we do not have the Roman Empire. Much of the medieval time, we are having rising up of other kingdoms and exploration of new territories. We are having the king or the queen of Spain, depending with which era we are talking about. We are talking about now the rising up of the Germanic speaking kingdom. We are talking of the United English kingdoms. That time they were not balkanized as they are today. So we are now talking of expansion of that territory. So that time, because actually they invaded each other a lot, because it was a time during the war. They were fighting and fighting all the time, and they killed each other too much. Waliuana sana, by the way. I partly believe that part of the reason why Europe suffered greater catastrophe of population decline is there's an ending war concept, which they started even before the medieval time. No wonder every time in Europe there is a war. So I think war and Europe is part of them. If there is no war in Kosovo, there is war in Serbia. If there is no war in Serbia, there is war in Ukraine. So there is a problem when it comes to Europe and war. When it comes to Africa, Africa is a battleground. In Asia, you rarely see them igniting wars. Americans, they don't want wars, because remember, Americans are immigrants from Europe, mostly immigrants from Europe who are escaping war. So the generations which are being raised in America, they fear war. That's why you see, by the way, Europeans like war, because historically they like war. That's why you're even seeing hata popo pale akiwa kwa jeneza, kuna majamaa wanasimama hapo na mikuki because their mentality is about war. Yeah, Dark Ages, that one I agree. The more civilized Europeans during the Dark Ages, yeah, and the more actually came from North Africa. Hata ndio waliwafunza kuoga. That one I know. But that one is much quite earlier than the Middle Ages. So we are talking of a time earlier than Jesus. So that one is, I think, is dynastic regimes, the dynastic regimes of Egypt. We are not talking about that today. Today we are just exploring that is this age of 500 to 1500. This age when the Roman Empire is collapsing, and when the American kingdom is starting. That is the medieval time, Bwana Joseph. So if you want to characterize it with the visible kingdoms, medieval time is a time when the Roman Empire is collapsing, and a time when the American kingdom is starting up. So Middle Ages give us the time period is around 500 to 1500 AD. That is the Middle Age, or the medieval time. So we are talking of 1500, is around 500 to 1500. Hiyo miaka elfu iko hapo. We are talking of an age when Muhammad is being born. So Joseph, are you aware that Muhammad was born within the Middle Ages? Wasn't Muhammad born around 700 years after Jesus Christ? Yes, that is the medieval time. That is the moment we are talking about, 500 to 1500. So 500, the Roman Empire has collapsed. 1500, America is rising up, and between 500 and 1500, there is a lot of calamities there. There's a lot of calamity. So, and now we will now even see now how now the new between 500 and 1500, the papacy has even lost its meaning. For your information, the papacy has even been overthrown. People are no longer serious with papacy until now. A new country is created, which is America, and actually America restores power to the papacy. You need to know that is the reason why America and the papacy are very conjoined, because after the papacy was overthrown, America, after America became a powerful nation, during the time when now they are also conceiving their nation, the papacy had a treaty with them. So the papacy also had a treaty with them. So that's how America was able to restore papacy back. Without America, papacy could not be there. So that's why those three territories are conjoined. the papacy, America, and Israel, the, their, their operations are conjoined. None can exist without the other. So America is the military wing for the papacy. The papacy ndio ya kuwaombea na Jerusalem ni ya na Jerusalem ni the land for blessing. So that is why, and maybe these are some of the things which I wanted to explain to you here. It will be very difficult for America to collapse, even if so many people are saying that America is on the decline and is on the collapse. As long as America is cooperating with the papacy, America is cooperating with Israel, and they are cooperating with themselves, they still have some good time to be on the leaderboard. I thought Canada was also created with the same purpose as America. No, you see what happened for the Canada. In fact, there was also a lot of war between Canada and US. But Canada was a bit unattractive because of its terrain. But also remember when Columbus, when now Columbus is when now the Spaniards. Let me talk of the Spaniards. When now the Spaniards start exploring during the late ages of medieval time, because now exploration is starting in the late ages. Exploration is starting around there 1400, 1300, 1400. That is the late. So 1400 is when now the king of Spain or the queen, I think it was Queen, Christopher Columbus is sent by the Queen. He is sent for a transatlantic voyage. Niite hivyo niongee kama vile yule jamaa mwingine alikuwa anaongea tu story ya siege. So the guy is sent for transatlantic voyage so that he can be able to see if there are some habitable islands. So the guy starts to sail. From Spain through the coast of Portugal. And as he is voyaging through the coast of Portugal, he is meeting some islands which actually have been claimed by Portugal. There are some islands there which are claimed by Portugal. And then he is dropping down. So when the guy is dropping down through the Atlantic Ocean, he arrives all the way to the east coast, half of Virginia. So that is the place where now he goes. He meets the native people of America. He interacts with them. His past voyage, he did not stay much. He takes the report back to the Queen of Spain. Hey, my lord, I have been, because at that time the monarchical leadership was very highly respected. Because in the Middle Ages is a time whereby we are now seeing the rise of monarchies. Even the monarchy of Britain is rising up during the Middle Ages. Our Queen Elizabeth, they date up to the Middle Ages. That monarchy is not during the Roman Empire, because during the Roman Empire, hakungekuwa na king. The only people who are king were the Romans alone. So after the collapse of the Roman Empire, that's the time when now the monarchy of Britain is starting. So, and during the medieval time is when now the monarchies of Europe are interacting with each other, and they are doing a lot of incest with each other, going all the way to Russia. So all that episodes are happening during the Middle Ages. So the monarchy of Britain is rising up during the Middle Ages, and now you can now trace all that genealogy and lineage of the king and the queens of kings and the queens of Britain. Now, what happened is that at that time, when Christopher Columbus has returned back to the Queen, he now gives a report. So, but remember, they needed a concept, because already the Queen was feeling frightened. The Queen was feeling as if like the Romans could rise up again. They had the history of what Romans had done, and maybe that's why they really needed a new territory. That time also their land was becoming scarce. They needed a place whereby people can go produce food and do other things, and they inhabit. So that was it. It was also at a time when also Europe was also experiencing a lot of drought. So they needed now to some people to migrate so that they can go and get a new life elsewhere. So now the first voyage was Christopher Columbus and one or two people. The next voyage was even with more people, because it was a voyage which included even doing research and getting more information about the new world. Now Christopher Columbus is now commissioned for the second voyage. Now the second voyage was a fact-finding mission. Now, as Christopher Columbus is now doing fact-finding and also doing some missionary work, because he was also commissioned with some missionaries, the Queen on the other end is assembling a combat using the information which Christopher Columbus told her, because Christopher Columbus told him tumeenda hapo na tumekuta watu. So now the Queen, that is how people think in an evil way. So now sasa the Queen pale ako pale anasema sasa, even without involving Christopher Columbus, because unajua Christopher Columbus tu anatumika tu kama mtu wa kupeana information. Queen ashaongea na magenerals kule, na magenerals washapanga vile wataenda kuua watu, kumaliza watu. So now, even as Christopher Columbus is in his voyages, those people are transported. Mercenaries, military. I don't think that time they used to have militaries. They never used to call them militaries. They used to call them battalions. So a battalion is commissioned. So they commissioned the battalion, and they went, and now they invaded the new land. So the new land is invaded in the east coast. Majority of the regions, the majority of the natives are now killed. Others are pushed further. Wanasukuma. So now America now captures now the new immigrants. So they captured the first territories close to the first territories they captured. They were there near South Carolina, North Carolina, hapo Maryland. Those were the areas where they began by capturing and pushing the natives away. Wakawasukuma hapo. So that's how. But that attack and the building of America is not part of the New Age. So I'm just saying that's how America was built. So America is a product of the end of the Middle Ages. So I didn't want to discuss about how America was given birth. America started as 13 states, which expanded to 50 after some time. And they expanded from the east going to the west. Walienda wakipiga watu hivi. At a time even walichapa hata Mexico. There was a time when California, New Mexico and Texas were Mexico. Wakawagonga na wakawapokonya hiyo mashamba. So that's how that country was developed. So, but in the Middle Ages, it was a time of courage. It was a time of mwenye nguvu mpishe, because actually during the Middle Ages, that is the time when a lot of slavery is happening in the world. A lot of, especially the late Middle Age. So the late Middle Age is when now slavery is happening. Why? Because during the late Middle Ages, that is the time when now big industries are being discovered. That's when now the white man is discovering that he can use coal. He can use, like, they are now discovering big machines. That's the time when they are discovering how they can process agricultural products. So, and they needed labor and workforce. They didn't have machines to do that. So that is why now they had to now do more voyages. That is why people like Akina Vasco da Gama and the rest, they had to be sent on secret missions to Africa and Asia, so that they could pretend actually they are looking for spices. But the truth of the matter is that they are learning about our way of life. That is around 1493. They are trying to learn about our way of life, so that actually the next invasion can happen and men are taken to go and now do farming for the white man. So That is the whole scenario. So it was a very brutal moment. It was a time of courage. It was a time where people had courage and you could go and explore any place you don't know. Anyway, I also credit the capacity of white man to create territories even in the places whereby he doesn't know. That is one thing, Joseph, we also need to acknowledge Muzungu sana. Muzungu is the only man in this life who is willing to conquer the unknown territories. And I actually appreciate those people for that. Many of us, especially as black people and Indians, tukisikia all the time unasikia tukiulizana nani ukaa huko, mimi siwezi enda pahali hakuna watu. But at least Muzungu was courageous enough, even at that time during the Middle Ages, to want and explore places which he doesn't know. No wonder he was able to conquer those territories and he benefited a lot. That courage. He was able even to face people who do not look like him. He was ready to face them in the battle of wits, in the battle of killing each other. So in terms of benefiting from courage, I think the white man has extremely benefited because I agree they were funded, but remember their governments were really organized on that endeavor. It was something which was extreme. Even colonialism was organized, because you can understand, like in Kenya, Kenya was not colonized by Britain. You know that, Joseph. We were not colonized by Britain. We were colonized by British East Africa Company. British, it is a company. So because it's Muzungu, even at that time, he knew that it would be very difficult to colonize a country as a nation. So let's give this job to a company, because now a company could do better. So all those people who are being mobilized to Africa to colonize us were companies. It was not Britain which was colonizing us. It was people who have already been paid by the government. It was a company which was being paid. I agree on that, and that is how the white man has been able to conceive the impact of the private sector from a day long. That is why even in America they are able to work with Elon Musk, and actually they do transformative projects. Yeah, it is true, because it's still happening. I don't understand what you mean. So that's why you see the issue of privatization is extremely very serious. Hakuna kitu privatization imaishindwa nayo, as long as the will is there. Muzungu tu anapeana British East India Company, hiyo ndio to colonize. So that is what happened, Joseph Beiders. So in the Middle Ages is a moment whereby, actually, in the Middle Ages, that is a time when the world lost so many people. Actually, Europe lost close to 70% of its population. Ni vile walikuja kuzaana tena. Before again, in the World War, a half of Europe population again died. So when Africans, as in Africa, we were being killed by diseases, that is malaria, especially because malaria and tuberculosis, which also was catastrophic also in Europe. But that one is later, after post-medieval time. As Africans were being killed by diseases, malaria and tuberculosis, because actually, if there is something which has caused a catastrophe in Africa, is malaria and tuberculosis. Actually, scholars claim that tuberculosis, a half of the deaths from tuberculosis killed in Africa. A half of the deaths from. There was a time when TB did not even have a vaccine. There was a time when tuberculosis was an extremely killer disease. Ukipata hiyo kitu kwenda umeisha. So we have actually navigated a very treacherous time. There was a time when malaria could kill in millions. Actually, it is believed that malaria has killed like 100 million Africans. Malaria killed 100 million Africans. So actually, Africans per se have not been killed by war so much. People who have suffered from war are Europeans. but Africans have suffered from diseases. So, Joseph Bayders, you sound very medieval. Did you study the subject? You are sharp, right? So, ndio najaribu kukuambia, unajua guys, these are topics of enabled people. They are very boring topics because unless if you want to follow, but at the same time very interesting if you are keen to details, because frankly speaking is that you will never develop your country if you don't have courage. If I tell you today that guys, much of Europe, or everything which you see in Europe, that Gothic architecture, if you know what Gothic architecture is, Gothic architecture ni kama vile unaona like Rome imejengwa. You see that that Gothic architecture, we call it Gothic architecture in engineering. Gothic architecture is where you do buildings and you rely on the buildings to support themselves through their own weight. Unajua mmeniingiza hata kwa medieval technology. Sijui kama guys, unajua guys, do you know what is what are Gothic structures? Wewe Joseph, hebu niambie what is a Gothic structure kama unajua. Joseph, I need to know what is a Gothic structure. I need to know what is a Gothic structure from you. Kama hiyo hujui sikwambii na nimekuelezea what is a Gothic structure. Na kuuliza what is a Gothic structure, Joseph? Na uache mchezo. Joseph? I'm putting the light on. Yeah, I have a good light here ili munione vizuri, mwachange kuona ni kama nakaa kwa giza. Yeah. Yes, so what is a Gothic structure? Unajua hapa nataka kwa Gothic structure ni vile mnaona hata nini za Gothic structure. St. Paul Cathedral ile ya ACK iko pale town, mnaitangaje? Ile cathedral iko pale Nairobi. A Gothic structure is a structure which you are not relying on steel to support it. So mumeelewa sasa. Gothic structure is ni ile chuma ambayo you are relying on supporting the weight from the material themselves. So much of the Gothic structures are actually pre-medieval time. No, you need to understand, because this Gothic structure is one of the technology which we have abandoned, and actually if we relied on Gothic structures, we could have really helped this one. Actually, we need to be doing Gothic structures up to now. Hebu nikuulize Joseph and the guys nataka muelewe how serious Gothic structures are. Let me ask you a question. Between KICC and the Vatican, which one will outlive the other one? Nimeuliza swali between the Vatican. Najua mumekuwa mkiona vile hiyo mijengo ya Vatican inakaa, ama mijengo kama Colosseum in Italy. Between huo mjengo na KICC or the Times Tower, which one will outlive the other one? Of course it is Vatican. Vatican will remain that way even for the next 2,000 years. But KICC will not go for 2,000 years. Will not even go for not to the 200 years. So we are actually losing a lot of money. Can you imagine hiyo pesa yote tumetumia kujenga KICC, hiyo pesa yote tumetumia kujenga Times Tower? In the next 200 years we will have to do away with it. Itabidi tuende tuwekaweke mabomu hapo, hiyo nyumba yote tubomoe. That is the problem. So I wish the world was able to continue with the Gothic structures. Gothic technology was the best because Gothic structures were durable. I think maybe waliona hakutakuwa na kazi, wakaona hebu hii technology venye inakaa there will be no any job remaining for people. So guys, Kona anasema if your daughter stroke son starts dressing Gothic, jua kumedhoka. Ndio nakwambia. So I think part of the reason why they stopped thinking about the Gothic structure was ili kazi za mjengo ziziishe. Tukaanzia kuletea hii mijengo ya plywood. What is plywood surely? Na nyumba za mabati. Look, unaona hata hiyo minor basilica iko hapo Nairobi. Hiyo nyumba that house will go like for another like 1,000 years without actually anything happening to it. Na tafadhali nitaomba kwa heshima wale ambao hamjatu subscribe, you can subscribe ourselves. Yeah. Joseph, unacheka nini? I need to conjoin in that laughter. So that's what I'm trying to say, like that type of construction which you are seeing in Rome actually is a medieval construction. Rome is a medieval construction. So Rome is around 1,000 years old. Hizo makuta zote unaziona. If you want to see in Kenya, we don't have a structure which is over 1,000 years old. In Kenya hatuna. In Kenya hatuna a structure which is 1,000 years old. So the structures which are very old in Kenya zile ambazo tuna Mali they have. Kama Mali and Zimbabwe, they have structures, some of them which date very Fort Jesus is not 1,000 years old. No. Fort Jesus was done during the Portuguese, and Portuguese are coming to East Africa after the Oman Arabs. So Fort Jesus a maximum of 500. Kama ni mzee sana. Fort Jesus so in Kenya we don't have. So Fort Jesus 500 because Fort Jesus and Vasco da Gama they are landing because Vasco da Gama was among the first Portuguese who are landing in near Malindi Coast hapo na akawezeka ile Vasco da Gama pila pale. That's around 1493. So when we talk of Fort Jesus is being constructed at an age between 1450 to 1550. That would be the era when the Fort Jesus was constructed. So Fort Jesus is being constructed around 1500 Apple. So 1500, and today we are in 2025, we are talking around 500 years old. So it's a very recent structure. So that's why I cannot visit Fort Jesus, because it's a postmodern structure. Joseph, I want to visit things like the Pyramid of Giza, something which is dated BC. That one I understand. So when we are talking about Egypt, those pyramids, the three of them, which actually and their dimensions are equivalent to the diameter of the earth. Unajua kuna mtu ambaye ajui hiyo, the mysteries of the pyramids. The mysteries of the pyramid. Unaona hiyo pyramid, hiyo base yake, Joseph, unaona hiyo base yake hivi na height yake hivi. Wacha niwafunze kitu. We have 3 stars which align in the sky. Those 3 pyramids, they actually point directly to those 3 stars. Then the pyramid, because it has a square base, like a square base, if you measure the length or the width, because they are equivalent, if you measure the length and the width of the pyramid, and you relate with the diameter of the earth, which is around 6,400 kilometers. Wale ambao wajui the diameter of earth ni ngapi? The diameter of earth is around 6,371 kilometers. If you want to round it off, is 6,400 kilometers. So if you take the length of the pyramid and the diameter of the earth is a factor, is a whole number factor. I don't know if you understand when I say whole number factor. A whole number factor means if you divide the diameter of earth and the length of the pyramid, you get a whole number. Very serious observation. Very serious observation. You get a whole number. You get a whole number because the pyramids are around in terms of feet. So when you divide it, inaletanga around when you divide it inaletanga around 64 meters, something like that. When the length is around 64 meters, so it's like a factor of 100. Fuatilia hiyo ni information hiyo ni. So anyway, but the pyramids are pre-medieval time, so don't worry about pyramids. So pyramid hata hiyo ni teknolojia kitambo sana. And the question which begs people, well, now Joseph, tukijaribu kuambia ni kama kwa dunia mnaanzia kusema ati tunaenda mbele, na mimi nikijaribu kuambia ni kurudi, tunarudi nyuma, mnakataa kuamini. Simply because ati mko na wifi na mko na simu touch screen, you think that you are better than pre-medieval time people. No. If we dissect some of the things which some of these people have been able to do, mutashtuka sana. These people have really done a tremendous job. When actually sisi ndio wale watu ambao hatujaendelea. If I talk about the hierarchy of development, ikifika story ya maarifa, we are the really informed one. hiyo haina wacha. When I say like that one, I know Joseph ataanzia kuuliza, really? Actually, in the hierarchy of concerns, sisi ni wale watu ambao we are poorly informed. We are the generation ambayo our work is we cannot even have a leadership, a strong leadership. We are the people who have versioned corruption. We are destroying our own civilization. Can you imagine? How will Kenyans say that they are civilized and they are voting Ruto? No, ni swali tu na kuuliza. Yani unapigia kura mtu wa kukumaliza. And you want to claim you are civilized? Go and look at the ancient world. Their leaders were the most polished. Hata huyu Herode ambaye alikuwa anatafutana na Yesu, in terms of leadership and the seriousness to the job, hakuwa ati anatafuta Yesu juu ya kitu kingine, because he couldn't believe vile kunaweza tokezea mtu mwingine isipokuwa mimi. But when it came to leadership, to people, other than kumfukuru Mungu, when it came to organizing people, he was okay. So si ati mnaanzia kukondem ati Herode sana. Herode was a million times better than Ruto. Hata Nebuchadnezzar was not condemned by God because let me tell you, Nebuchadnezzar was not condemned by God because he was ruling wrongly. Nebuchadnezzar was condemned by God because of taking his glory. Alijifanya Mungu. People were okay, he was not stealing. Yeye tu vile alijifanya Mungu na Mungu akasema nitamwadhibu. But when you want to compare Ruto and Nebuchadnezzar is better. So, Joseph, those are the issues. You need to know that see ati watu ati when it came to, there is something we call organized leadership. Organized leadership dates ages earlier. And the current world is the weakest on organized leadership. Leadership which is results are objective based. We are the lowest. In fact, I think maybe we could compare with the early man. We could compare with the early man, the Neanderthals, the level at which we are now. But when we look at the Middle Age civilization, it is bigger than us. when we look at post post medieval age civilization all the way to 1950, it is bigger than us. So if we have to civilize this world, we have to civilize this world by preservation of the culture. Because if you look like during the pre-medieval time and even during the medieval time, one of the things which these societies were focusing on was writing of manuscript, storage of information, just like the same things which you have seen like the papacy doing. I don't know if you people you understand the meaning of what was being done during the papacy and the engraving of those things. They are now trying to store that history such that the next generation which will come 1,000 years from now, if people will go and open that tomb, those people will be able to see. So those were the same things which were happening in Egypt when the pharaohs were being buried, walikuwa wanazikwa na vitu. So that is a culture which they borrowed from there, and now they have also decided to be burying their leader. Because you see, Yosef Nitakujibu, once we die, the only thing which remains, or the only thing which can now be traced about us, is culture. People like Pope Francis will be lucky because they will be remembered forever. Because even the writing of the tomb itakuwa inaoneshana Pope Francis. That's why saa zingine nawaambianga hata mkisikia kuna mili inazikuliwa kule Egypt na watu wanaanzia kukana, na kuna uwezekano hata majina ilikuwa engraved ya watu. So maybe people like us might not be remembered beyond 3 or 4 generations, unless maybe we become impactful people. So ndio unakutanga at the end of the day, the only people in the world wale wanakumbukwa out of the 4 billion people ni watu wadogo sana, mostly leaders. It's unfortunate that in Kenya itabidi mkumbuke jamaa kama Ruto. At one time he was the president of Kenya. Americans, where they will remember. So somebody like Donald Trump will be engraved in their history. So hao ndio watu ukumbukwa. Kama sasa even in the ancient Egypt there were so many people, but we only remember the pharaoh. Kulikuwa na watu wengi sana. There were akina Miriam, akina nani, Potiphar's wives. There are so many. Potiphar mwenyewe. But hao watu wote. So unauliza which culture? You see, culture is an accepted norm which traverses ages of time and has been transferred to people. That's what we call culture. Culture is something which you are transferring from generation to generation. Did you know that Greco-Roman culture was full of forget about that. We know these are the things which they used to practice even during those times. But I think they are still stood as serious people who stood against this thing. I understand this issue is issue which even dates even the Bible time. Joseph, this issue dates the Bible time. You remember that the Bible time, especially during the fallen angels, those angels who fell. Yeah. So there are so many things which happened during that time. Yes, so medieval era is an era actually where we can learn something from it. Actually, if Kenyans or Africans can be fueled by medieval era psychology and way of thinking, we can actually rescue our nation. We can actually rescue our nation because it's courage. It's where you believe that the soul can rescue the mind and the mind can rescue the body. That was so. Nimepeana the medieval psychology instinct, how it was. That was the driver of everything. The soul rescues the mind rescues the body. So, guys, corner, that is my kicker today. So, medieval psychology was about how the soul, mind, and the body are connected. And those people believed that the soul can rescue the mind, and the mind can rescue the body. And that is why when they went to war, they fought as if there was no tomorrow. That is why, hey, Joseph amecheka at which angels? No angel can cohabit with humans. what happened is this, it is this one is a post-biblical dating. Maybe guys, corner, I know that you are into. So it is both in the Bible and it has also been proven in the scrolls. Because also in the Bible there is a silent age, which is not known. There are some chapters which you cannot date them. You don't know for how long it happened. Hmm? Uh, after the creation of Adam, so between Adam and Noah, that age is indeterminate. So let me explain to you about these foreign angels. What happened? About this story of the foreign angels, it happened that time. It could be a myth, maybe according to you, but I pre-assume it happened. You remember the time of Caleb, the time of giants? Do you remember the time of giants? The time when the Jews are supposed to inhabit Canaan. And when Jews are supposed to inhabit Canaan, two people are sent to go and see what is happening in that land, or to do a survey. And when those two people are sent there to go and see what is happening in that land, they brought a very negative report, and they said that land is full of giants. That land is full of giants, and we cannot inhabit it. And now watu hatuwezi washinda. You remember that time? So scholars believe that those giants was a result of mixing of the fallen angels and humans. Yourself, Mimi, it's how it is recorded. So you cannot question me on that. I have given you the some of the other signs to show that there was mixing of humans and angels happen. Then there was also a time when it is also recorded in the scriptures that Son of Man, guys, corner. There's also a place where Son of Man. There are some angels who are on this earth. Remember, even Abraham himself used to be visited by angels. I don't know why Joseph unataka niongee mingi. Don't you remember when angels are visiting Adam, not Adam, when angels are visiting Abraham, and I think there are some specific people who saw those people, and there are some young people who are demanding that we need those people who are here tonight. Hey, guys, kwani somangi Biblia ama hii history ujui information ya watu walitembelea Abraham, na watu wakakuja kuanzia kuitisha, wakaanzia kusema tunataka kulala nao watu. Guys, if you don't respond on that, nafunga kipindi. That one is too basic. Guys, do you remember that? Joseph, do you remember of those people who are demanding to sleep with the angels, who had brought the information to Abraham? Hey, kwani hamuna information? Yes. Joseph, muko na michezo mingi sana. If you cannot remember about the information of guys who are demanding to sleep with angels. Kuna watu tumeona hapa na wanakaa warembo sana. We wanted them. And Adam was having a lot of problem. Not Adam. Abraham was having a lot of problem trying to explain how watu washaenda. Hawako hapa. Hawako hapa, washaenda. They are gone. And those people really felt very frustrated. So that is what happened. So those are some indications of humans could have wanted to mix with angels. So there is that. So that is what happened now. So the medieval moment signifies a time when people felt that they could acquire anything they want. That was the medieval psychology mentality. So the medieval psychology was about anything I dream of, I get. If I want your land, I get. If I want your woman, I get. Anything I need, I get. It's just to go and capture. So that's why it signified a moment of whereby people were highly captured. So many atrocities happened during that time because it was a time of courage, and it was a time of mind domination. Huh? Remember that time there was no diplomacy. Diplomacy is a very recent endeavor in the world. Diplomacy is actually a creation. The first people who tried to do diplomacy, although it failed, the first diplomacy we see it happening in Egypt, even before Christ. However, so Jiro is what can part of the new world order. Kuna vitu nikikwambia hapa utatoroka wewe. Do you know that the Titanic, it was a deliberate thinking of people who are against the new world order. Hii maneno ilianza kitambo. The people who are against those banking systems and what. Yeah, Titanic was a anyway. So first of the war between the new world order crusaders was during the Titanic, and so they decided to kill much of the people who are against that issue. It's unfortunate. We lost over 14, and like so many people died because the world wanted to shift the geopolitics the way they want. So occasionally in the world they do that. So in 1912 they had to sink the Titanic so that they could set the stage for new world order. In 2020 they had to bring COVID to set that order. Vatican is a secret state and is a secret city. Saini wamefika watu 1,000. Vatican is a city with around 1,000 citizens. Yeah, so Vatican ni pahali iko na mambo yake na mashida yake. For me, I do not take Vatican. I do not take Vatican as a religion. I take Vatican as a state and as a society. So I do not take Catholicism as a religion. I take Catholicism. Catholicism as an art of human manipulation. But in Isawa, it depends with what you think. I do not say that there is a good religion than the other one. All religions have their own inadequacies. But Catholicism is too organized. It's too organized. It's too organized and perfect to be a religion. Na nimemaliza. Sijasema kwa vibaya. I have relatives who are Catholics. We know. Yeah, there's that secret. Yeah, Catholic created Islam. In fact, they and sijui ati walikuwa nataka, lakini kikawaramba. That is okay. So guys, you don't need to be worried about that. There's no good religion. Let me be fair to you. So usikairingia mtu na religion yako. Because there is there are two arrays of belief. There is religion and spirituality. So whether you are a Muslim you are following something you don't know. If you are Catholic, you are following something you don't know. If you are Pentecostal, you are following something you don't know. Poleni sana, poleni. I know there are those people who are hooked to their religion. Stop that nonsense. Hook on spirituality. What is spirituality? You know, religion is not believe in God. you know that that is one thing which people don't understand. Religion is not believe in God. Being a Catholic doesn't mean that you believe in God. Being a Presbyterian doesn't mean you believe in God. Oh my. Hizi zitatupa nguo, wacha niache. Believe in God is another hare. Is something outside religion. That's why somebody is called John and is serving 50 years in jail for killing Mary, who has a baptismal name for Jesus. That's why we have Joseph as a rapist. So that is religion. Religion is conformation to a standardized thinking. Religion is a conformed thinking to is a way of life on a conformed thinking. It's a doctrine which has been written by somebody. But when it comes to spirituality, it's about thinking about God. So what religion has done, religion has brought spirituality to it. And it has mummified spirituality to it. So if I was asked, I would tell somebody, practice spirituality, don't practice religion. Stop worshiping churches. Stop worshiping pastors. Yosef, wewe ni mjinga sana wewe. Umeona story ya 500 to 1500 itapotea. Umesikia hata nimegonga dini yako ukaona shineke. No. So this moment, the medieval time is really a time when the European Empire is building up. The European Empire is highly civilizing. The European Empire is absorbing so many other cultures from different places, especially from places whereby they have captured people. Remember, that is the time when they are taking artifacts from India. They are taking artifacts from Africa. They are now even starting to build their own museums using stolen items from wherever. Remember, it also reached a time when, as part of destroying the African history, all the sculptures in Egypt and their noses destroyed. Hiyo ni kitu ingine tutakuja kuongea hapa. They had their noses destroyed. So there is a lot. There is a lot in that way. Okay? So Europe is highly developing in 800, 1200. Very many discoveries are happening. Discoveries, additional, not discoveries in medicine. Motor engines are being discovered. A more civilized Europe is on the horizon. Nikama my power is going away. So a more civilized Europe is on the horizon. So that is what happened. So medieval moment is now there for 1,000 years. Europeans are highly increasing, their culture is changing. At least there is a lot of family life in that Europe. That time is now when during the medieval time, Europe is now becoming highly Catholicized. So it is a moment whereby they are also now getting a lot of growth in faith, and now they're also getting a lot of growth in family life. So there is a lot of growth in family life. That is it. So those are the things happening. So that's the time when now even the population of Europeans is growing and reaching to the maximum. So during the medieval time ndio sasa hata wazungu wanaongezeka sana. Yeah. Wameongezeka sana. That is the time when they are planning raids to their neighbors. That's the time when a lot of technological development is happening. Gothic structures are building up all over the continent. So those are the things which happened. Leo Joseph atoi sadaka. Hebu nichukue chaja. Joseph, wewe toa sadaka leo. Joseph, mbona utaki kutoa sadaka? What is shifting? Sijaelewa. Nipa nikibu. Joseph, what is shifting? So the medieval moment is there for Europeans. Yeah, I agree. A lot of shifting. Yeah, wanahama from territories to territories. That is why, like actually, Italians have gone to UK people. That's why I don't think there is any person in Europe. They have mixed a lot. I agree. They have mixed a lot. I don't think Germans can really claim that the Germans who are in Germany, they are the true Germans. Or the Britons can claim they are the true Britons because wamechanganya hapo. No, I mean dunia inabadilika sana. Now, what is happening, maybe Joseph kukuguzia hiyo, is I don't know what will happen, but the Western civilization seems to be. I don't want to say that the Western civilization is declining, but there are credible questions which are coming, whereby now people are trying to reason the Western civilization. So I don't know for how long that question will still be asked, but now Western civilization is being questioned, which is a very serious thing. So, though even if we are questioning the Western civilization, I still don't believe that the Eastern civilization is the solution. Joseph, I refuse to say that the Western civilization is declining. What the Western civilization is facing, the Western civilization is receiving something which we call a high pattern. I don't think the Western civilization is declining because the principles which guided the production of Western civilization are still the ones which are guiding the world up to today. Even the Eastern civilization is following closely what the Western civilization has been doing. So the Western civilization is still intact, if I'm asked. High pattern is changing into another direction. Joseph, when I tell you take a high pattern, what I'm telling you is that you could be moving to the north. I'm telling you now take a turn and go to the east. Hyper, big, take a big turn. So the Western civilization has taken a turn. They have shifted. You see what happened with the Western civilization? They were more technological. They seem now to be. They seem now to be on managerial aspect. They want to manage others, but still a lot of production happening in their countries. So I don't think so. The Western civilization is still there. So I can't predict when. So when we could see a decline in it, But remember, it can also recharge. It can also recharge. Also recharge. Even the Eastern civilization, which we are talking about, we are not sure if it will be stable or if it will stand the test of time. Remember also, there is also another civilization which people are not talking about it, and maybe could also be a civilization on rise. African civilization should also be looked at. Yes, we have idiotic leaders, but maybe African civilization is another one which is rising now. Western civilization is being attacked by the minority. No, Western civilization is very stable. Yeah? Na Sadaka today, where is the Nakate? By few people in the country. Anyway, don't worry about that. So medieval time. So as a Kenyan, what can I learn from medieval time? As a typical African, what can I learn from medieval time? Kujituma, kujitolea. If your determination is an attribute you can get from medieval, because actually the medieval people succeeded a lot. They did a lot. They had blacksmiths who achieved a lot. So many things. So I can get courage. Courage moves mountains. Hard work. Medieval people are working a lot. Not accepting the status quo. Medieval people are not accepting the status quo. They used to topple government after the other one. They used to topple government after the other one. And changing for the best. So actually, medieval psychology should be able to help us. I would recommend a book about medieval psychology. It is written by Simon Kemp. Itakusaidia sana. There's also another book called The Art of War. Yeah, it will really help you. So The Art of War, you will be able to understand how battalions were assembled and how different territories were how territories could capture others. So very important. Joseph, when we are talking of Western civilization, we are talking of Europe and America. I don't know if Japan count themselves as part of Western civilization and South Korea. I'm not saying that there's no decline, but it is just like the way you are seeing a decline in Saudi Arabia, oil, and trying to diversify to other areas. Who tells you that maybe Europe will not diversify to other areas? It's a matter of time. So on that, we still need a lot of time to be able to qualify that Europe is on a decline. Remember, all countries are declining. There is no any country which is doing better than any other. Even China is not that China is doing better. So it doesn't mean that because a certain country is collapsing, it means that no, that's not the reason. So anyway, medieval psychology itafika hapo. Industry, will AI take your job? There are jobs which AI cannot take. We will still need human beings at the end of the day. We will still need human beings. So yes, AI will take a number of jobs, but human beings will be irreplaceable. So forget about that fear mongering where nothing will ever become better than a human. So you'll still see there will be areas where human beings will still be required to program that AI to do what? You still need that. Mimi sina jambo lingine la kuongeza, tupatane kesho. Nimeshukuru. I hope you have gotten something about the medieval psychology. Yeah, tupatane kesho. Asante. Kuna mtu anaangusha sadaka leo? Ama nifunge? Sawa, Joseph, nimeshukuru. Tuonane kesho. Bye. Bye. Bye.